Hey there! If you're watching this on March 1st, it is the first day of the March of the Mammoths readathon, so I wanted to share with you my reading plans for the month. My major problem is that I have grossly overcommitted myself. There are 5 mammoths that I want to read this month, and I don't really think that that's a realistic goal. But at this point, I can't imagine cutting one of these books from my list. And one thing I've noticed from doing this readathon for 3 years in a row, I have read a different amount of books each month. So I don't really have a consistent average here. So I thought, why not be ambitious and just choose 5 books and just see what happens. So this isn't a promise or anything, but these are the books I will be dipping into this month, and whether I finish them or not, we shall see as we go. So to start off, my nonfiction mammoth of the month is once again going to be another literary biography. This month, I would love to read this biography of Fernando Pessoa by Richard Zenith, and let me tell you, I am so excited to pick this one up. And that's because I read the Book of Disquiet back in January, which is Pessoa's kind of posthumous masterpiece. And it is such a mysterious and magnificent book. I got so obsessed with it while I was reading it, and I knew I had to find out more about its author. So I ordered this book back in January, knowing that it would be a perfect fit for March, and I'm just so excited to learn more about, first of all, who Pessoa is, what's his deal, how do you become a person who writes something as strange and profound as the Book of Disquiet. The book is kind of legendary because it was never published in Pessoa's lifetime, and he never really arranged it into kind of a proper book. Instead, the book is assembled together from loose pieces of paper stored in a trunk. So I definitely need to know more about what happened with the trunk. And the other thing that I know about Pessoa is that he wrote under different personalities. I believe he called them heteronyms. So he had these different author personas who he would attribute his different texts to. So I think I'm so excited about this book because not only will it teach me about this literary figure who fascinates me, but I think it also might interrogate the concept of the self and, what it means to have all of these personalities. And I think I'll learn so much about the artistic process here. So I'm beyond excited for this one, and I will let you know how it's going a little bit later into the month. The next 3 books that I want to show you are my novel choices, and I was really tempted by a few new releases this year, and I always have a backlist of long classics to read, but this year I decided to go fully 20th century with my 3 picks, because I am kind of wrapping up this 20th century reading project that I've been doing, and these 3 are from the earlier part of the 20th century, and they're ones I wanted to get to last year, and I never did, so I think this month might be the perfect opportunity to do so. So the first one of them is An American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser, which came out in 1925. And this book was initially put on my radar after I read about it in the novel A Biography, which I read 2 years ago for March of the Mammoths. And that book, it's called the novel Biography, so obviously it mentions a lot of different books along the way and how they shaped the concept of the novel. But I remember really being interested in how that author described this book, and I knew that I had to check out Theodore Dreiser. So I'm finally thinking that it is time to pick up this book. It is also seems like on the lighter side for a mammoth. This one's only clocking in at 870 pages, so this one feels quite doable, and I think it has to do with a crime. So I'm hoping there will be a bit of a propulsive plot here to motor me along through the reading experience. The other 20th century book I'd like to read is Volume 1 of the Forsyte Saga by John Galsworthy. Another project I wanted to get to for my 20th century reading project, but again, it's kind of like a massive undertaking, and I'm a little on the fence with this one if it's going to be really interesting or if it's going to be on the dry side. Reviews seem to be mixed for this, so I figured the best way to figure that out would be to finally give it a try myself. Now, this sounds promising. I'm usually pretty drawn to these multi-generational family stories, especially when you're dealing with a family family in decay, one who has been very great and prosperous, but starts to lose not only their money, but kind of their moral compass as well as time progresses. I'm thinking this will give me a bit of like that Buddenbrooks vibe, like Thomas Mann. So we'll see. This book, I mean, they make it sound kind of interesting on the back. They're saying that there's going to be emotional disaster and some kind of feud in the family, and it depicts a dying society. So I'm hoping that this will be as dramatic as it sounds. This volume itself is 900 pages, and that's just volume 1. So I think it will be interesting to give the series a try, and we'll see if I want to continue forward with the whole trilogy after checking out volume 1. And the last novel that I would like to get to this month is technically 3 shorter novels bound up together as one, so I guess you can fight me if you consider that to be a mammoth or not, but this one is a reread for me. So I read this book quite a few years ago now, and it has just been like quietly beckoning me from my shelves. So I think I have to try at least to revisit a bit of it this month. And that is Kristin, Lavransdatter by Sigrid Undset. This is the translation by Tiina Nunnally. This one clocks in at 1,144 pages, but the reason why I think I can justify this as a mammoth is that it's really bound together in this one volume. On the cover, it only says Kristin Lavransdatter, so it really is just the saga of one woman's life, which is quite a majestic, mammoth-like journey to go on. So, like I mentioned before, I'm just craving to return back to the world of this book. I think where I went wrong with my first read-through of this book was I picked it up in the summer, which was a mistake atmospherically. So this is very clearly a slow-burning historical fiction novel set in medieval Norway. Like, that just screams that it's a winter read. So I really am excited to see if I connect with this story a little bit more, if I read it at this slower, more contemplative time of year. And I'm also looking forward to returning to the story now that I know what's going to happen in terms of the plot. I'm hoping I can focus a little bit more on the character, because this is just such a richly drawn character study, and I'm curious to see how Sigrid Undset kind of sets up the characters and how she shows their relationships changing over time. So there's a lot of things that I'll be looking for on my second read through, but I'm hoping to enjoy it even more than I did the first time. I'm not sure that I can get through this entire book in the month of March, but I am really looking forward to at least getting through part 1, The Wreath, which I remember being the most emotionally devastating part of the whole trilogy. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what I will make of this on a second read. And then my last mammoth is also not really a mammoth in that it's not just one story stretched out over the course of 800 plus pages. This one is more of an anthology, and it's a poetry anthology. So I really don't know what I'm doing picking this book up, because like, I sort of like poetry, but I have never read thousands of pages of poetry in one month, so I don't even know how this is gonna go. I just thought it would be funny to try. So the anthology I have here is the best poems of the English language from Chaucer through Robert Frost, and this was compiled together by Harold Bloom. And this was a book that my mom got for me like at least 10 years ago. This beast has been sitting on my shelves for a long time, and I've definitely had some fun flipping through it over the years, but I have not read the whole thing cover to cover. So I thought it would be this kind of ridiculous journey to just go through hundreds of years of English poetry. Who knows, it might give me some inspiration as to what poetry I should continue picking up next. So I'm definitely curious to see what stands out of this collection and if I can really enjoy reading this much poetry in 1 month. So that's my list of mammoths that I'd like to read in the month of March. I know quite a few of you have shared what you're planning on reading back in my announcement video, but if you hadn't decided then and you've decided now, you can also let me know in the comments. I'm also wondering if anyone out there would like to join me in some kind of mini 24-hour readathon at some point in March. I'm thinking about the weekend of the 12th through the 13th, and I'm wondering if anyone would like to do either a 24-hour readathon where we just dedicate a day towards trying to make as much progress as we can with our mammoths, Or should we do a 24 in 48 hour readathon where you have the whole weekend and you can actually sleep? It's a bit more gentle on you, but it does take up 2 days. So let me know if you'd be interested in doing a 24 or a 24 and 48 hour readathon to really put some progress into our mammoths at some point, kind of near the midway point of the month. So that's it for my video today. Thanks for checking out my TBR and happy reading. I will check in with you again sometime soon. Bye.